So here's a part two. So, back to what I was saying about the psycho Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists screaming in my head. So after moving from Tustin, or after living in Tustin and leaving the apartment, the terrorists talking in my head were trying to get me kicked out of those apartments. They would scream and scream, and I would play music to its max, okay? Trying to drown out who I thought were my neighbors. And luckily they felt sorry for me. They were like, okay, she's clearly has something is wrong here. And I ended up staying the entire term of the lease without getting evicted. But the terrorists are playing with my head. They're causing me strokes, so I don't explain what happened. And I ended up halfway through that lease, like 6 months in, I just couldn't take the talking anymore. So I ended up moving into my mom's house in Mission Viejo. I was living in Tustin. I had an apartment in Tustin, rented, furnished, everything. But I just couldn't take the voices anymore. And I didn't realize they were in my head. So I was like, okay, if I relocate, the voices will go away. So I came to my mom's house. And when I was at my mom's house, I ended up thinking one of our very close neighbors, okay, was talking. And I could hear him through the walls. And we're talking about houses that have spaces between them. Like, we're not sharing a wall. And the terrorists would laugh and scream and laugh in my head. Trying to get my neighbors to file a complaint with the homeowners association. Okay. And then after my lease was up, and I had, my mom had known, like, my neighbors, everybody kept approaching my mom and saying, hey, your daughter's freaking out. She keeps thinking people are talking when they're not. She's called the cops a gazillion times. So my mom was like, okay, my dad had just passed away. Okay. And she was like, okay, Renee's clearly, she's spiraling. She's going through a lot because her dad passed away, and wanted to do nothing but be there for me. So we ended up looking for another apartment. I ended up finding this gorgeous, stunning community in Foothill Ranch, Baker Ranch. And it was beautiful, right? And me and my kids were happy there. And the terrorists talking in my head kept doing the same thing they did in Tustin. And they were like, ha, you stupid bitch, you piece of shit, all night long. And I would do the same thing, play my music super loud, and I was screaming, piece of shit, to my neighbor who happened to be the landlord. Okay? I ended up throwing plates at the wall and denting the wall from the terrorists talking in my head. And they would hurt me. They wanted property damage because they wanted to fuck up my mom's credit. So, one of the women is saying, die, she's a stupid bitch because she's getting sentenced to fucking death. I'm sentencing them to death. I'm making it clear. I hear those bitches in my fucking head, and I know the government wants them sentenced to fucking death as much as I do. So they had me throw plates that ended up denting the walls, okay, from like the pain and the agony that I was going through. And still I thought at that time that the voices I was hearing in my head were my neighbors. And it wasn't even like 3 months into the lease, and the lease, the what do you call them? The manager, the property manager called my mom and was like, Renee is playing music like to the max in the middle of the night, like at 2:00 in the morning, dude. And I mean, the entire building heard, and screaming profanities because I was cussing out the terrorist talking in my head for keeping me up all night. And it's like screaming and calling the cops, and the cops would come and they would say, Renee, you're clearly experiencing psychosis, sweetheart. Like, let's go get you checked out. Are you sure? Do you want to hurt anybody? Do you want to hurt yourself? And I'm like, someone's fucking stalking me. And they were, the police department was completely concerned, and the property manager, he told my mom, sorry, you guys have to leave. I don't want to evict you, because he knew that, like, my mom was crying, like, she just lost her dad. She's going through something. Something's clearly wrong with Renee, and we don't know what it is. I apologize, and my mom is like, she is a freaking angel. She is such a sweetheart. The terrorist just caused me a stroke for feeling like, for loving my mom, for like having the utmost love and respect, okay, for her. There's nothing, I could never pay this woman back. And anyways, the manager told her, well, I have a lot of other tenants complaining, and I'm so sorry, but you guys have to leave or I'll have to evict you. And if you leave and you don't fuss about it, I will gladly just terminate the lease, and it won't go on your credit. Okay? And in which case, after that, I ended up moving. The terrorist had successfully had me moved into a hotel for 3 weeks to a month. And at that time, I was working for a good friend of mine, Bishoy, and I was dating this great guy named Joe. And of course, when I moved into the hotel, I was so embarrassed. I didn't know what to say. And it was like, and I was crying, like I didn't know what to say. I kept telling my mom, someone's stalking me. And she was like, Renee, nobody's stalking you. And I'm like, yes, somebody's stalking. Like, it was just, they're playing with my head. The terrorists are playing with my fucking head. But instead of getting upset with me or thinking I was refusing help, my mom would cry. She would cry over the pain that I was clearly going through. And anyways, they put me in a hotel because she was experiencing a lot of post-traumatic stress. My dad had just passed away. My dad had 5 heart attacks. He had 3 herniated discs, 27 stents in his heart, and a defibrillator. That woman was on edge every second of the fucking day. And then, mind you, my sister has diabetes, had thyroid, and I got pregnant out of wedlock, and my sister in Chicago, who has diabetes, ended up with thyroid problems. Her hair fell out. Her husband was abusing the fuck out of her. Okay? And my mom was the one holding it all fucking together. While my youngest sister was still deciding whether or not to go to med school. She finally went, and she's completed med school. But oh my God. And the terrorists talking in my head were trying to ruin her credit because she wanted to buy us investment properties. And that's when, and it was just luck. It was like heaven. The interest rates dropped to 2%, and she bought these 2 condos. And she was like, perfect, Renee can live in one. After I almost jeopardized her credit, she still wanted me here. And unlike some of these other and I feel so bad for the victims, okay, who don't have families like mine. Oh my God, these terrorists are disgusting. I want them sentenced to death. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists. So now I lived in the bigger condo for about a year. And when my mom moved out of the smaller condo, because she ended up living here for a little while and she was renting out the house, and the house was paying both condos. But she was like, you know what, you guys all come visit me and I really need a bigger space. All my grandkids, I want, Christmas, holidays, we have a bigger house to go to. So she ended up moving, and I ended up moving into the small one because my kids weren't with me full time. And ever since I moved in here, and I've been here for 4 years, okay? The terrorists talking in my head want to do everything in their fucking power to get me out of my condo. They are stupid, psycho, terrorist, Egyptian, American, Muslim, women, terrorists, screaming in my fucking head. For the first year, I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Okay? Like, I just can't even begin to they're trying to get me kicked out of here. Now I know what's going on, and it's becoming harder for them to manipulate me. But dude, like, this is so fucking much for one person to go through. There are several of them screaming in my head. And I'm just one person. And it's a war weapon.